Hello, Fairfield. Welcome to another exciting episode of Fairfield 2.0. And today's guest is Paul Jones. You know Paul Jones, but let's reintroduce Paul Jones to Fairfield because we are the purpose of the show.
That's
Paul.
right.
Paul the Hermit.
I was out of state for a while. I came back. No one knew me.
I barely recognized you.
This wasn't recognizing. Like, have you seen Paul? He looks so different. No, there was a whole group of new people here. They had never heard me, you know. Hey, Paul, what do you do when you work in the pickle factory or something?
Well, how is the pickle factory? What's going on?
I don't know. I don't eat pickles no more.
Nah,
So I had to give a concert here a couple of weeks ago, and to reintroduce myself.
All right, how long were you gone? What's the deal? Fairfield, you and Fairfield.
Gone.
What is this relationship?
What is this?
What is this marriage?
This mariage fatal.
Tell us all. We're all listening.
I came here in 1974. Came in 74.
Are you going to be Buckley today? William F. Buckley.
William Buckley.
Can you please?
Okay. I have a great sense of humor. And so does he.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's
But we
true.
digress.
We manage.
we
manage.
We just shuffle through.
Well, a lot of people, you know, he's a serious pianist. He's a serious guy.
But you are a serious pianist.
I know, but I'm a serious guy. He's probably borderline depressed, or, you know, artists are all like crazy, and he's probably difficult to live with, and all that. See, none of that's true. I have a great sense of humor, and I like to have fun, but I'm also very serious. Anyway, so.
Does this apply to your...
This isn't going to get me a girlfriend by talking.
Does this apply? You never know. What is your website, again, people can go to with all those shots of you? Tell us a little about yourself. We already have a little about yourself. But go way back. Go way back. What got you into music? What got you into piano? Come on.
Let's see.
We want to know. Acquiring minds.
Born in 1853.
1853.
I was born in 1944.
Okay.
And...
Where?
In New York, in Flushing, New York.
Flushing.
In Queens.
Queens.
Yeah.
Casino Boulevard?
I know where that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
My relatives.
See, now, really?
My relatives are from there, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, see, back then,
not me.
All that area, Flushing, Bayside, all that, it was very rural.
Yeah.
It was like Iowa. Wasn't a lot of people. Excuse me. And we were right off Little Neck Bay. We get to Jones Beach, 40
Jones
minutes.
Beach.
Oh,
yeah.
God, it was great.
Love Jones Beach.
Then, listen to this, kids. The speed limit on the Southern State Parkway was 45 miles an hour.
Boy, you're really pushing it.
45. Then 10 years later, it went up to 55. But it was 45, and we thought that was fast. You know,
you guys were just
back then with our old Chevy, with the running boards, they had the little running boards. 40 miles an hour, Dad. What are you? Anyway, so I got into music. I went to church and I heard the organs, and I thought, wow, music sounds really beautiful. And we had an old piano when I was a little thing. And I reach up and just tinkle. Well, I love the sound of the music, the piano. So they got me lessons with a local teacher there who was very good. And I won some awards, I didn't.
What are the awards?
Well, you win, if you're in a studio, who gets the prize for the best student of the year and second prize and little things, like
this
that.
Wasn't those days where it's like everyone gets an award. Everyone gets a trophy.
No, this is more realistic days. If you deserve a trophy, you get it. If you don't, you don't.
Such a thing exists?
Such
or
a
has
thing,
existed?
It's called competition.
Uh-huh.
And so, you get an award, it was good. That went on, but I had a normal childhood.
What happened?
Look at me now. If someone knows. No.
I think it has something to do. Let's shuttle ahead to something that's on your arm. We should show everyone, because you should show this with pride.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I was swimming in the lake the other night. I was out at the reservoir.
The reservoir.
And these are tooth marks. This is not going to help my studio. These are tooth marks from a great white shark that attacked me out there in the reservoir. It was about 30 feet long.
Well.
And what I did, it got its tooth there, and the way I repelled it is this is something to remember if you see one out there.
God's honest truth.
You hit him in the nose. and then the shark makes the sound like, ah! And it opens its mouth, and you look in and you see other things in there, you know, like outboard motors, license plates, frisbees.
Body parts?
No.
Dogs? Cats?
It was kind of late in the day, and the visibility. I was more concerned with extricating my arm. Now,
you had other things on your mind. Okay.
Okay, so we feel better now that we talked about it.
All right, thank you.
So then we had a family doctor, a good Jewish doctor, and he was a pianist, but he went into medicine, you know, during the Depression. He had to make money, support his family. He says, you got to send that kid to Juilliard.
Ah.
And we had heard about the Juilliard School of Music. Mm-hmm. So they sent me. I went there. I was 8 years old, and I auditioned. And I got in. Now,
that's
when people
amazing.
say, no, it's not. Just wait now. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Thought,
all right, it wasn't
It was very competitive.
Okay.
But you don't study in the college.
Right.
It's a preparatory department
that
the school has.
Yeah.
All the little kids every Saturday. It's like, you know, it's like Kiddie City, millions of kids, and they're all talented.
Right.
I mean, when I was there, went with guys in my class, Bobby Sylvester, Marvin Hamlish.
Huh.
Marvin passed away recently.
Yeah.
He used to sit next to me in class, and our keyboard teacher, she was about 3 feet tall, a little Jewish lady. She weighed about 40 pounds. She lived on Camel cigarettes, black coffee, and Niedek's hamburger. Niedek's hot dogs.
Niedek's hot dogs, exactly.
Yes.
34th and Herald Square. Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
She'd come in with her hot dogs, and she'd smoke, and they'd be like this halo of these cumulonimbus clouds above her.
See, people...
She was very lovely, and Marvin would sit next to me, and this was Marvin, you know. He's like...
How old was that? You were still 8 years old.
8 or 9 years old. And she would say, she'd be talking, and she'd say, Marvin, what did I just say? And he'd go, sit up and pay attention and don't fall asleep. So anyway, Marvin was there. Chuck Perlman was there. All these guys, you know.
Holy cow.
These little kids. I was like the token Goyish person there. You know? So it was mostly, there was a big Jewish community there. But it was a great school. So I went there. I was there like 7 years. And then...
So that makes you 15 now.
Something.
Okay.
Then we went to Oberlin. I went to Oberlin College, the conservatory, and that was good. It was a little more provincial, but it was very competitive.
Now you went to Oberlin for your beginning of college, or now is this still prep? You know, the prep.
After prep, we go to Oberlin, go back to Juilliard for masters.
Hold on. Okay, so 15. I need to wait. I want the timeline. Right. This is cool.
First thing,
Galen Hawthorne is a graduate of college at 19. I want to know what you.
He's one scary guy.
He's a cool kid.
Oh, I'm 12 years old and I got 3 PhDs.
That's right. Galen.
He was a student. He was a student of mine, and he was a character. He was so out there. We had a great time.
He's a great kid.
What did you do this week? Oh, I got this great thing I made up. Well, what about the piece I gave you? Oh, I forgot about that. But
he's still doing it, and I predict he's gonna discover another continent before he's done.
I keep telling him, Galen,
or explore outer space. One of these.
Galen, whatever you do, he's being approached by national security agencies. You know?
Yeah.
So I said, be very careful, because they'll support you, and then you are owned by them, mm-hmm. unless you want to do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so I said some un-American thing. But anyway, so now what are you going to ask me?
All right. What's your favorite color? What? Niedek's hot dogs. Let's go back to the Niedek's hot dogs.
They weren't bad. In Penn Station, they had a Niedek's hot dog place. They were like hot dogs in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
They were delicious.
They're the best things ever.
They were
fantastic. And they had those square buns. Remember the little square U-shaped buns?
Yeah. They were fantastic. And they had great orange drink.
That's right. They had that orange, right? That they have the spray thing and those clear containers.
Yeah, that was great.
It was like and the Greek diners, I think took the cue from Niedek's or something. I don't know what.
Anyway, back then, Robert Wagner was the mayor of New York, and then it went into other people.
The guy from It Takes a Thief?
Robert Wagner. No, not the actor. He was the mayor, for crying out loud.
It's a
You
joke.
said So anyway.
I grew up in New York, too. I know
Where did you grow up?
Second Avenue, Manhattan. Second Avenue, name of the 20s. I lived there as I say over and over. I went to Epiphany grade school. I went to a few different Catholic schools. And then I went to Xavier High School, Catholic military high school.
Jeez. Oh, yeah. I know about my uncle. Yeah. My uncle became he was a commander in the Coast Guard. Commander, and he went to Xavier High School too.
Yeah, we had a lot of kids who were children of Governor's Island, a Navy and all that were stationed there.
Anyway, New York was really kind of cool back then. It was relatively affordable. It was a little bit more dangerous.
Right through the 60s and 70s. I mean, I lived there. I acknowledge the 70s because that's when I started to get conscious of my surroundings. But yeah, it was beautiful. I loved my childhood in New York. A lot of people go, the funny thing is a lot of people go, oh, I never want my kid to grow up in New York. It's like, are you kidding? Your backyard, your park is Central Park. You want to send the kid to the library? You got Lincoln Center. You got the New York Public Library.
Right.
You've got amazing things there.
I went there and I commuted. We live way out on Long Island, out in Northport, right on Long Island Sound.
Yeah. And
I'd take the train in every Saturday. And I want to tell you, I never had a problem ever walking the streets of no.
Well, my father taught me how you do that. You don't ever look anybody in the eye.
You don't make eye contact.
That's right.
And you pretend you're sick or you're.
That's right. You talk to yourself a little or something. It's like, oh, well,
like in the subway, you're sitting there. And these gangbangers come through, and so what you got to do?
Well, that's these days.
But you got to sit there, and then you got to go, and they leave you alone.
It's good to have a brown paper bag bottle too with you.
So. That's right, anyway. So yeah, so I went to Oberlin, I went to Juilliard, and then I went to the University of Michigan for a PhD. And this is during the Vietnam thing.
You got your master's in Juilliard. You got your master's from Juilliard.
Yeah.
You graduated high school from Oberlin. I got college from Oberlin. I corrected myself. And then and now you're off to. So how
what?
You're like positioned to be.
Really?
Why? Uberman.
The Ubermensch. All the schools train you under the assumption that someone is going to hit the top of the curve of success in the field. Right. Everybody is groomed to be the world's greatest.
Yeah.
And at Juilliard, I mean, there were kids practicing, and Misha Dichter's next door. Well, he's playing with the New York Philharmonic tomorrow. Now, let me tell you, that gets your attention.
I was in children's chorus with Robert Palaio, who was the biggest kid opera singer for a while there in the late 60s, early 70s, I guess. And he became famous for Amal and the Night Visitor and a few things like that. But anyway, where I was going with this is that I know the whole grooming thing, and they want you to start as young as possible, and you were one of those kids.
Everybody was one of those kids. And
over
you're time,
right. Regis High School. Remember Regis High School when it existed? It's like, oh, my kid got into Regis High School.
But then High School of Performing Arts.
High School of Performing Arts.
All these places, and these colleges still exist.
Yeah.
So kids come, I'm going to go Johns Hopkins, I'm going to Boston Conservatory. And I tell them, I said, great. And be aware that 99% they're not going to make it. They'll find their niche.
Right.
Eventually.
But what is making it to them?
Well, making it means becoming, I knew one guy.
A master in the field?
A famous personage in the field. I went to Michigan. I would work with Ronnie Copes. And he wanted to be famous. And he was a good violinist.
Yeah.
So he's the second violinist in the Juilliard Quartet now. Yeah. Now that's a high visibility, that's a virtuoso quartet. So he achieved his dream.
But in those days, it was also to eventually to have been the conductor of, and then fill in the blank, or have a recording career that rivaled Bernstein.
Only a few, I mean, who from that school, John Williams, John Browning, Marvin had a pretty good career.
Yeah.
And there were some other ones. Lenny Slatkin, he's a conductor, and he's very professional. His family are all famous conductors. He's not a great musician,
Right.
but he's a very that was what Juilliard was.
When you
had to get out there. You very professional. You can't make any mistakes. No memories. No nothing.
Yeah.
So it's a very small spectrum of what's called professional playing. And very seldom do you get like really off the chart, real performing. Like you go down to Carnegie Hall and you hear Rudolph Serkin knock your socks off. And he's professional too. But the schools, they don't, they put an unrealistic thing on the students like, yeah, you're going to be the next Horowitz. And
did you feel that pressure?
Yeah.
Did you feel like every day you go into school and you're feeling the pressure of having to be Horowitz?
Man, I got from my father. His mother lived with us, God bless her, and she, listen to this, she was heard by Schuyler Chapin, who years with
Harry's dad.
Schuyler Chapin.
Just a joke.
He ran. Ignore. He ran the Metropolitan Opera with Rudolph Bing, and Schuyler Chapin said, "Gladys," they called women Gladys back then. This is 1930 something. You have an opportunity to be a star in the Metropolitan Opera. We're going to arrange for you to go. True story. You're going to go to Europe and study voice in Italy. Okay. Now back then, women didn't do stuff like that. So her family said, wow, that's really great, but you're not going to go to Italy to study voice.
Mm-hmm.
So she said probably something terrible under her breath, and she just gave it up.
Huh.
All right. So then she gets married, and she has a son. So guess what happens? The son now becomes the vicarious vehicle.
Yep.
All right, that's my father.
Yep.
God rest his soul. So then my father gets married. He has me. He can't cut it as a pianist. See?
Yeah.
So he's not the Manchurian candidate here. So he has me. And he promised, he told me, he promised, he saw that I had some talent. And all this. I'm going to send you to the best schools, and you're going to be the best. You're going to be the second Glenn Gould.
Yeah.
You're going to be the second Van Cliburn. Now, that was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm still living it down. Still. I mean, when you're a kid, you osmose this thing. And the parents, they don't have to sit down and say anything. It's all very covert, expectations. There was a lot of pressure.
Yeah. The only thing relative to that I can come up with is it's kind of a weak comparison. It's not a comparison, it's an addition. Is that my mom was a nightclub singer and a dancer, apparently in New York. I didn't know she was a dancer. I found out after she passed away from my aunt, who's like, oh, she was a great dancer. It's like, what? She never mentioned it to me ever. But she was a really good singer. And, she used to sing around the house. But anyway, I ended up having to be the torchbearer. It was not out of not love for music. But, I loved science. I loved science fiction. I loved all that type of stuff. And it's interesting to think what might have happened had I not had a lot of musical pressure on me.
That's interesting. I love sports.
Yeah.
I was great
my dad was a basketball player and was trying to get me into basketball.
I was great in basketball, and I was great in baseball. And,
What position in baseball?
Second base, center field.
Oh, nice.
That was a nice position. Shortstop was a little bit too weird. First base, too much responsibility.
Shortstop and first base are the ulcer.
The shark bite.
The shark. Exactly. Talk about pressure.
Yeah. But there was pressure, but they'd have to drag me in. I was like, hey, man, I can't come and practice. It's the bottom of the seventh inning. So I get my grandmother, my mother and father, they worked. And sometimes I'd say, look, I'm having a great time out here. She said, all right. So the first thing that would be asked when my parents come home, they'd ask my grandmother, who was, the sentinel, did he practice? And she'd sometimes say, yes, he did. Lie.
We love grandmas.
Yeah. But she was okay. But there was a lot of pressure. And,
Yeah.
So
Can you imagine another thing that happened?
People don't realize it, you know, when you have a talent, guys become doctors. Oh, medical school. Oh, Wharton School of Business is so hard. Harvard Business School, Harvard Medical. They have no idea. You want to be a decent pianist, okay?
Right.
You start when you're 5.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
And you practice your half-hour a day. Every day. Yeah? You get in there almost every day. Then, as you advance, you go to Juilliard. You don't come in and say, I couldn't practice this week. You'd be like, okay, put him in the dunking stool. You know.
Which I picture they would have.
They have a
something
pillory.
similar.
They stick your head in the thing, you know, and they put a sign on you like lazy dog. You did not show up for a lesson without practicing.
You know what would be worse if they did that? Having somebody practice piano in front of you. And when you're in the stock, it's like, stop, leave me alone.
Playing the same thing.
Right.
Well, what would happen is Saturday was the Juilliard day. Okay. So Monday, beginning of school, I had my girlfriend, I had a lot of stuff going on. Monday, Tuesday.
Happy days.
Wednesday. Now, right around when, no practicing, screwing around. Go to my girlfriend's house. We've got playing baseball, football in the street. We do that, you know, normal. Because a lot of kids at Juilliard were like, not normal. They were total nerds.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, get on the bus. What's a bus? I mean, these kids were really sheltered.
It's sheltered, and also, right, their parents, they want to do something normal. It's like, get it back at that piano. Get back at your violin.
Sit at the piano for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But, Mommy, I'm only 3. I don't care.
Well, how about, I'll tell you what, when you look at all the competition, how about the beauty contest competitions for like kids and stuff like that? These insane things where parents put their kids through torture for what? What is that kid ever going to do with that?
You know what?
It's for the parents.
There were guys at the Juilliard. They went to Russia, to Tchaikovsky competition, you know. They'd come in second, third. Emmanuel Axe won the Rubinstein competition in Tel Aviv. Now, Emmanuel, he's got a big career now. But he was in our group, and we all looked at him like, who's this guy? You know, he's like Mr. Potato Head. I mean, that's what we thought. This guy, he's not going to make, he'll get a job in a bank. He's had the biggest career. He's like Seabiscuit. Biggest career of anyone that got out of that school. Well, one or two, I think others too. But as time goes on, and so Wednesday comes, and you start thinking, oh, I got 3 days to practice because I got to have a good lesson. So Thursday and Friday, it was like major cramming. You know, sit there 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, and pull your act together. You go in, show them what you got. The teacher's happy. Oh, God. And then we take the train back, stop at Nedick's, have a hot dog.
That's right.
Go to Doubleday Bookstore and see what new records.
Doubleday. Or how about Woolworths for records? Remember that?
We didn't buy records. I didn't buy records at Woolworths.
They used to have them bunched up in like groups of 10 singles for 99 cents. It's like,
really?
Gimme. I need them. I don't care what's, you can only see one side and you can only see the other side. I don't care what's in the middle. I want this.
I used to, I would go
Simon and Garfunkel. That's how I came across all my Simon and Garfunkel singles. I had that lucky run at Woolworths once.
The Woolworths we had in Bayside was pretty fun. You know, wooden floors and creek. You know, you walk on.
How about Lamston's, which was the junior, which was like the junior version of like Woolworths.
What was it?
Called Lamston's. That was like another chain.
I never heard of them. But we had, why are we talking like? We had Bohack Supermarket.
Bohacks, I remember. Bohack Gristedes.
Friendly Frost. We had all these.
How about White? Did you have a White Castle?
Oh yeah, White Castle hamburger place.
Yeah, I was trying to mix it. I sometimes mix it up with White Tower. There was also a White Tower trying to infiltrate.
Well, there's a Watchtower too. That's a Mormon thing. No, born again. No, Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's Witness.
All right, so
where are we going?
No, we're doing great. So Saturday would come, get through the lesson, and I go home and my mother said, "Did you have a good lesson?" Oh, it was great. Yeah. So I'm on sabbatical now. So I could take Sunday off, call my girlfriend, take Monday off, take Tuesday off, and then we'll start working for Saturday on Wednesday. But then as time went on, at Oberlin, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And we were sitting 8 and 9 hours a day in front of the piano, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And then Julie, our graduate, we were sitting 6, 7 hours. University of Michigan, we were working with Georg Schandor, who was a protege of Bartók. And he was very interesting, had a Count Dracula kind of voice.
I have an issue with Bella, but let's go on.
Yeah, but he was a very good teacher in a way. I mean, he was very freeing.
Unlike Bartók.
Yeah,
well, it's interesting.
Yeah, George was brilliant. He lived to be 96. He passed away only a year ago. God love him, and he was very authoritarian. You know, he would make suggestions, and I'd say, we could call him George. You know, it's true stories. He'd make all these suggestions, and they were usually really bad suggestions. And then I'd say, and he knew I was resisting, and he'd smile, and I'd say, well, with these suggestions, what if I don't agree? I mean, how would you feel if I just do my own way? And he would say, he'd smile, and he would say, well, if you don't like my suggestions, that's fine, but I will be hurt. In other words, obey the law.
That's worse than
I will be hurt. So we worked with him for a couple of years, and then I went to Europe. I went to Paris, studied at the École Normale for 2 years.
To this day, when you play, what are you feeling? What's going on? We talked about passion and relative to the performance before.
It's passion.
And,
I mean,
expression.
Passion.
But is this what's going on when you're playing? When you're playing, what's going on?
Yeah, there's some presence in the notes and the sounds. This passion, it's a whole spectrum of aesthetically based emotions. You know?
Beautiful.
Passion, and then I discovered in the Mussorgsky there's these interludes between the different pictures. And I mean, playing them years ago, and it was like, well, you hear an orchestra play them. Like the guy's waiting to go home and finish the pinochle game.
Pinochle being a card game.
Card game. Or you hear George Zell. It's totally prophylactic. He's a wonderful conductor. No. You get to that, and all those notes, they're entities. And you phrase them, you sculpt them, and you get very tender with them. And man, who needs to get drunk? Who needs an addiction? This is, and you go out in the world, and it's sad, only a small percentage of the world, relatively, really get that.
Well, music has become functional in a lot of ways. Like you dance to it. You clean the house to it.
Well, it was like
you have it in your car to pass time. I mean,
it was like that. The classical music. We don't know what the classical music scene might be dead in 10 years. New music is coming through. Some good music, good film music.
But there's the thing. Can it be argued that classical music had evolved? Classical music was a body of work, that's evolved into other forms of music because it's the basis of other forms of music. So the other forms of music are, I hate to say it like this, but are classical music. Our rock might be our classical music.
Well,
our current jazz might be our classical music.
Of course. I mean, there's been an evolution from simple to more complicated. Then you move into jazz.
Because classical wouldn't be the right word.
No, you're using basic chords, and then you're expanding them. Right. See? So it's
different instruments of the time.
Different instruments, everything.
Different language of the time.
The thing about classical music, I mean, all of it isn't great.
Yeah.
Just because it's classical. There's a lot of, it's not that hot. But the really great, how many composers were there? Bach, Beethoven, Mozart. Not Brahms, maybe. But you when you're engaged in Bach and you're playing a prelude or a part of a concerto, you're playing something of the spheres, the music. I mean, it's just philosophy in sound. It's deep.
When these classical composers, just for a little reference here for people who may not understand the concept of how intense, how breakthrough or intense this was. At the time when these people were doing these, this was a genius emerging in music, right?
Well, Bach was sort of the culmination. He, it came at the end of the Baroque period,
right?
And eventually he was looked on like he was an anachronism. But the guy was a marvelous genius and a deep person. Worked for the Lutheran Church, but he was really a follower of Spinoza. He was a mystic. So he had a job. He had all those kids. He had a job, and he could just get in there, and he feigned being a good Lutheran. But he was really taken with Baruch Spinoza, the mystic. That's what his religion was.
What is the main philosophy? What's the...
Oh, God, Spinoza. Well, I'm a little rusty.
Is there any tenet that...
Yeah, Spinoza held that the relative terrestrial existence is canopied by the infinite. Something like that.
Sweet.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? So...
which coincides with Christianity. With their,
It's King James. It's the Vatican. It's all those guys. They went to Rome. And when Jesus said, what is this, a prayer meeting? Upon this rock I will build my church. You look up the word Petros, which is Peter.
Right.
And it also means rock in Greek. But it's not a rock. The church was meant to be a congregation, not a building, a congregation of people transparent to the divine. That's what it was. That's in the original translation. Now, King James, I'm going to fight this guy. When I see him on the street, I'm going to be like Louis Black, the comedian.
Hey, Jimmy, get over here.
Hey, Louis Black. Like,
I got a black guy waiting for you.
Yeah. Hey, King, get over here. You screwed it up. They screwed it up. They totally... Mary Magdalene goes to Rome. Peter and the boys there, they're strutting around with their hats. She's in hiding. She's living in southern France. She goes over there. She's an old lady.
She with them with their hats.
They had their hats,
Okay, all right.
Cone
You
heads.
just wanted a visual.
Beaker.
All right, beaker.
So she goes over, and she says, "Guys." First of all, she walks in. And it's like, uh-oh, because she was black. Yeah, she was fierce. All right. She goes, "Hey guys, we need to talk. How come you're not teaching what the master taught? You're leaving out stuff, you're changing stuff, you're adding, I wasn't there."
Now, this is 75 years. This is many years. We're talking about Mary Magdalene?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
No, shut up. Mary Magdalene. So Peter, he's the real smart guy, Duh. He says, "Oh, yeah, you're right."
You're setting up a joke, aren't you?
No, I'm not setting up a joke. He said, this is what I heard. He said, yeah, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, oh, little God, yeah, you're right. And she said, and she was fierce, she said, "Put the stuff that you took out back in." I said, okay, don't yell. Wow, God, calm down.
And this is exactly what happened.
I was there. Calm down. Relax. Take a breath. Take your pulse. See, your Vada. So anyway, this is what I heard, all right? So she says, she has a big stick.
This is a joke.
She has a stick. She bangs it and there's electric shock. Lightning comes out. Oh, God. She was very powerful.
Huh.
So she limps out of the Vatican, As soon as she's out the door, guess what the guys do? They wave her off. It's like, we're going to do what we're going to do.
But she had a good vacation. She went to Rome. She went to the Vatican. She saw a few people.
She had no use for any of that stuff. The guys blew it. And that's why there was a schism with the church in Constantinople, the mystical, side of the thing.
I think in all of this, obviously everybody's going to have their own beliefs. Christianity is going to have all the people who have their foundations in learning through childhood and into adulthood, it's a certain way, the dogmas and all that. There's still going to nothing that's being said should be blasphemous. We're just having some discussion and some fun here. But we are. But I want to acknowledge that in a lot of ways, I look at the culture and I see the melting pot. You're not going to find any 2 or 3 or 4 people in the same room. This is an amazing thing to me. You're not going to find 4. They could be musicians. They could be artists. They could be Christians. They could be anything, any discipline. You're not going to find any 4 that are going to agree on all the stuff, that anything that comes up. And why is that? Because everybody has their own paradigm. Everybody has their own mindset, regardless.
That's accounted for. I mean, the parables, he was very clear, You're going to hear what you're going to hear.
Otherwise, you would be that person. You wouldn't be the person that's
somebody's going to hear this, and that's going to hear that, and guess what? They're all right. But categorically, there's different levels. Mm-hmm. He's right on that level, so the guy down here can't say, you're wrong up there, and the guy up there can't say, you're wrong down there. Well, they're just different.
I think what happened in the culture to me, 60 Minutes, with the point-counterpoint, it introduced a concept into the culture which gave equal weight to 2 sides of an argument where where you could apply it to anything. Where in a lot of cases, basically, there is a right. There's something which is like a fact, and there's something which is a spin. And what we've done is, just to account to the point that we are all different and all have our ideas, we've created a situation which I believe is the beginning of polarization of the country, as far as politics, as far as religion, as far as everything.
Absolutely.
You have this this is equal to that. Well, no, this one might be more right than this. But we have to hear both sides of the story and let them be equally weighed. For instance, you have political debates, right? We're in a political season now. The political debates, somebody is lying. Because if you're going to have somebody who's going to say one thing, somebody's going to say another thing, and they're using a fact and twisting the fact, somebody is lying about that fact. Maybe they both are lying about that fact. But what we've done is we've given equal weight to the truth of whatever is being said. And I think that that's so misleading, it's so wrong, and it's so destructive. It's like people can't hear what the truth is anymore on...
It's a form of relativism.
Everything is relative. Yeah, exactly.
You hear that about the arts. Artistic taste is relative.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a major contradiction. If everything is relative, so also is the statement that everything is relative. Implying that something in the relativism is pointing to something which is not relative. And guess what? That has to be something absolute.
I remember in high school when they were showing, it's so not, somebody will paint a green sky, and the instruction was, please could you paint a blue sky? And then the child would have the green sky, and then the teacher would go, oh, that's beautiful, Johnny. But what that implied was that the instruction was do the blue sky, comes up with a green sky. That might be beautiful, it might be artistic, and it might be a wonderful choice that the child made. But then to be going, oh, that's fine, Johnny, is also saying that's a blue sky. And there's so many little things, subtle things we do in the culture that do that, to imply that our version of, I guess we all have our own versions of the truth, but our versions of perception by saying, like let's say this is a wall, and then somebody else will go, this is a pillow. It's like, no, this is a wall. It's not a pillow.
Yeah, the culture,
everybody doesn't get a trophy.
Well, a lot of that it's all this crazy postmodern stuff that Jacques Derrida introduced at Yale and in the literature, where you had this radical kind of relativism and there's no anchoring a text in anything truthful. It's all just culturally informed interpretation. And Jacques Derrida, of course, he never said, what he said got taken to an extreme. He said that you have some data here, and you have counter data, and you deconstruct it, but eventually you hit an absolute where all the contexts have been brought up, and there's a bedrock there. Mm-hmm. And his followers, all these neo communists or whatever they are up at Yale, they're crazy. They left that out of his interpretation, and he was saying there is an absolute, you will find it if you take the deconstruction far enough. It's there, but it's unmasterable. And the followers said, it's not there, it's unmasterable, it's a bunch of baloney. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then the academics are talking about relativism, nothing is better than anything else, it's all contextual, and
after a while it's
and what happens in relativism too, it's like it's a very covert move, because what they're saying is it's absolutely true that there are no absolutes. Everything is relative, except the relativism, which is an absolute. See? So they're sneaking in this absoluteness into a position which claims there is none. So they're saying it's absolutely true that only relativism alone is true. See, that's the implication. And it's been challenged and taken apart by John Shaw, some of these other philosophers. Mm-hmm. Been lacerated, eviscerated. Anybody that goes around with relative. You got to be like Lewis Black.
Exactly. I think we all should be like Lewis Black.
What are you talking about? Anyway. Well, we ran overtime.
We ran a little overtime. Okay.
Well, that was fun.
Another controversial show. We're not done yet, sir.
Oh, we're not.
Paul Jones, thank you again for visiting us here at Fairfield 2.0. And that was a very interesting conversation. We covered music, we covered politics, we covered religion, we covered spirituality.
Mary Magdalene.
We covered Mary.
This was like a free.
Mary Magdalene.
Yes. This was a free an improvisation. It just took over. You know.
But thank you again for joining us, and I think we're going to be listening to a little music now by Paul.
If there's time, I don't know.
There's going to be time, and I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, we had fun.
Hi, Jason. Here.
We'll do another one.
We'll do another one. We'll do another show. You should come back. I invite everybody back always. Just come on back.
Yeah. We've just scratched the surface.
We really did.
Right.
All right. Fairfield.
Okay. Thank you.
And thank you. Take care, Fairfield. Bye-bye.